A decent core surrounded by a whole lot of everything. Square Enix really knows how to take all the fun and excitement out of a game, eh? Forspoken is yet another example in a recent trend of lackluster messaging from the publisher. A $115 Australian dollars price tag practically buries the title before it's even launched. The real shame of it all is that Forspoken looks decent if you can ignore all the superfluous hubbub. It's infamous meets Final Fantasy at its core, a combination that's sure to entice PlayStation owners. First announced in June 2020 and expected in May of next year, Square Enix and developer Luminous Productions provided our first real good look at Forspoken in a hands-off preview event that took place ahead of the Game Awards. Tying into the gameplay trailer that was launched as part of the awards show, seen below, almost half of the preview featured writers who weren't Gary Whitta or Amy Hennig talking about Gary Whitta and Amy Hennig. The dynamic name-dropped duo may not be front and center, but they've certainly left their mark when it comes to world building. Protagonist Frey is a New Yorker displaced in the faraway land of Athea, a land under siege by an all-devouring corruption called the Break. Frey is forced to learn more about the territory and its inhabitants at the same time she needs to properly harness newfound magical abilities, ones that have seemingly saved her from exposure to the Break itself. When Frey isn't telling you that she's from New York, forget about it. Forspoken throws a lot of nouns at you. Athea's baddies include the likes of Tauntas, Break zombies and Jabberwock. Frey herself has a deluge of spells at her command alongside cloaks and nail polishes that can enhance her abilities. As you're learning what all that means, you're also expected to figure out your own fighting style. You can go for hardlight blades for close quarters combat or stick to a distance and fire off tactical spells as an expert strategist, and honestly, both looked like fun options. If things get a little too crazy, Frey can even turn herself invisible to recuperate. The hero of Forspoken is Frey Holland, played by actor Ella Balinska. In the reveal trailer, Balinska says she's a young woman in a beautiful yet threatening world. Balinska also said that Frey is a character she immediately connected with, and she's performing both the motion capture and voice work in Forspoken. That threatening world is doubly so, since Frey is actually a gritty yet street-smart young woman who is unexpectedly transported from New York City to the nightmarish fantasy world of Athea. Thankfully her passage into this world is accompanied by the discovery of magical abilities, which she'll need as she fights her way to the twisted all-powerful matriarchs, known as the Tauntas, who control Athea. Sounds like she needs to get rid of them. The first thing we saw in the debut Forspoken trailer was Frey's sneakers, which seemed ill-fitting in a fantasy game. Well, now you know why she's wearing sneakers. This has the whiff of an isekai story, a popular genre in Japan where characters are transported to a fantasy world. You know, like Space Jam. The Luminous Productions developed Forspoken utilizes publisher Square Enix's proprietary Luminous engine, the game development tool behind Final Fantasy XV and various tech demos, including the impressive Agni's Philosophy and Witch Chapter 0. It combines high-speed movement and spectacular visual effects to create action with a unique look and focus. Protagonist Frey falls into the world of Athea and awakens with magical superpowers that let her nuke foes with a vast selection of sorceries, and parkour across the world with supernatural ease. Athea is dying, corrupted by a miasma called the Break, and Frey becomes embroiled in the world's struggles as she searches for a way home. Forspoken stars Frey Holland, a directionless, gritty, street-smart young woman from New York City. An orphan who has bounced between different foster homes for most of her life, Frey struggles to find her place in a world that hasn't shown her kindness. Mistrustful of others, Frey's only friend is her cat, Homer. She wants to leave New York City, but doesn't have the means to do so. Her wish comes true in an unexpected way when she finds herself magically transported to the land of Athea. Frey's identity crisis only deepens when she finds herself in the strange realm. She mysteriously gains magical powers, which set her apart from the besieged land's citizens. Being called a demon compounds her feelings of isolation. But as she did on Earth, Frey does her best to survive and persevere, despite the strange circumstances. Frey, who is motion captured and voiced by actress Ella Balinska, uses humor as a defense mechanism. Humor also helps her diffuse situations and calm herself down. We saw hints of this during the demo, and Balinska does a good job of making Frey sound like an everywoman. Frey also has a disembodied companion named Cuff, played by Jonathan Cake, with whom she trades quips during the adventure. He is all business, while Frey tries to make light of her weird situation. It's difficult to gauge how well the interplay between the two will work over the length of the campaign. Since Frey spends large portions of the game alone, it's understandable that she'd need someone to speak with. Combat in Forspoken seems just as fast and fluid as the parkour. Frey has a wealth of magic spells at her disposal, and when she gains enough experience points, she can acquire new spells from a skill tree. These range from more direct attacks to long-range projectiles to traps, and it looks like you can even tailor spells to button shortcuts. It seems like Forspoken also encourages players to find the fighting style that works best for them, as it offers a wide range of options. Sometimes combat can, and should, be avoided, as seen during one section where Frey went invisible to avoid a tough group of foes to reach her destination safely. From how you choose to approach combat or even how you might not, there appears to be a hefty amount of versatility to fighting in Forspoken. Frey's magic serves as her weapon throughout the game instead of relying on the traditional fantasy arms such as swords or other more typical weapons. Games like Spider-Man, Miles Morales have shown how fast the PS5 is able to fast travel across dense open-world environments, but the test in Forspoken, especially with the wide-open fields, is going to be how much of the game can the console draw in, and how quickly will Frey be able to get across it. Frey makes use of magic parkour to quickly and effortlessly traverse the hostile world of Athea. Magic parkour isn't just about speedy forward movement, though. Frey can also move vertically or laterally at will, and zip to ledges by setting anchor points. Walls that would normally serve as barriers in most open-world games are nothing more than an extra hurdle to leap over in Forspoken. Since this was a hands-off demo, we can't assess how good or intuitive it feels to use magic parkour. But based on what we saw, it all appeared seamless enough, and it looked cool. All manner of nasty monsters stand in Frey's path. She can take them on with her powerful magical abilities. During one segment, Frey went up against a group of break zombies. A ring menu gives Frey access to a plethora of abilities. These include traps, projectiles, ranged attacks, close-quarter attacks and more. Frey dealt with the slow-moving zombies by lobbing magical arrows at them. She can even use magic parkour in the middle of combat to close in on enemies or dodge attacks. The game encourages players to find a playstyle that suits them, whether it involves fighting with flair at close range, or being tactical and picking off foes from further away. Facial animations are also stellar, something that Square Enix has nailed in its recent main titles such as the Final Fantasy VII Remake. The footage that has been shown so far features limited or no HUD elements, leading us to wonder if this is going to be an option to achieve a cleaner look, or if they'll fade in and out when necessary. Watching Frey run down the large hill during the September 2021 trailer is extremely impressive with no HUD, and we hope Square takes the time to indulge in those moments.